How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, April 2nd, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to preview everything that's going on, or at least everything that happened yesterday from Friday, April 1st, before I preview everything that's going on today on the second day of April in 2022. Before I get into everything that happened yesterday, I'm going to take a quick step back and take a quick look at where we are. As we are getting into the fourth month of the year, we are in the closing days of March Madness and the last weekend of it. In the women's tournament, the national championship game has been it has been set as both Final Four matchups were officially played yesterday. There are now two teams out of the original 68 that are competing for the 2022 title. They will compete for it tomorrow. In the men's bracket, there are still four teams left to compete. Both those games will happen tonight in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, and I will get into those in a second as well. In the NBA and professional basketball, teams are starting to get themselves seated up for the playoffs that are coming around the corner, and the MLB season starts in less than a week as well. Taking a look at what's going on outside the country, teams are getting ready for yet another weekend of domestic soccer. So, of course, I'll get into those one sport at a time. So, with that said, I'm going to start with the women's bracket because now we are in the championship game round. But first, looking at the Final Four matchups, looking at how these teams got here. The first matchup would be against the 1 seed South Carolina Gamecocks from the Greensboro region and the 1 seed Louisville Cardinals from the Wichita region. Taking a look first at how these two teams got to the Final Four. First seed South Carolina would win their first two games on their home court, beating 16 seed Howard by 58 in the first round. They would then go on to beat 8 seed Miami by 16 in the second round. Their second weekend would be in Greensboro, North Carolina. In the Sweet 16, they would beat 5 seed North Carolina from their bracket, and then they would beat 10 seed Creighton in the Elite 8 by 30. Looking at how 1 seed Louisville made it here out of the Wichita region, they would win their first two matchups on their home court in Louisville, Kentucky, beating 16 seed Albany by 32, and then 9 seed Gonzaga by 9 points. Their next two games would be in Wichita, Kansas, where they beat 4 seed Tennessee by 12 in the Sweet 16. They would then go on to beat 3 seed Michigan in the Elite 8 by 12 to make it here. And in this Final Four matchup, South Carolina out of the Greensboro region would end up beating Louisville out of the Wichita region 72-59. South Carolina would win this matchup by 13 after they outscored Louisville by 7 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Louisville Cardinals out of the ACC would be led in scoring by their starting forward, Emily Engstler. In her final game of the season, the senior out of New York City would go on to finish with 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 steals as she fouled out in 32 minutes. She shot 8 for 17 from the field, and she made 2 of her 4 free throws on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the top seed South Carolina Gamecocks out of the Greensboro region, out of the SEC, would be led in scoring by their starting forward, the NCAA Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. South Carolina's junior out of the Virgin Islands will go on to finish with 23 points and 18 rebounds in 35 minutes. She shot 8 for 12 from the field. She made 1 of her 2 3-pointers, and she shot 6 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win, the top seed South Carolina Gamecocks out of the SEC will advance to the national championship game with a 34-2 record, where, of course, they will face off against 2 seed Connecticut, but, of course, I'll get into that in a second. With this loss, the Louisville Cardinals out of the ACC will finish their 2021-22 season with a 29-5 record after they won the Wichita region. Taking a look at the second Final Four matchup to see who would face off against South Carolina in the championship game, the top seed Stanford Cardinal out of the Spokane region, who are the defending champs, would face off against the 2 seed UConn Huskies, who would make it through their first 2 weekends without leaving the state of Connecticut. Looking first at how Stanford made it to this Final Four, they would play both their first 2 games in Palo Alto on their home court. They would beat 16 seed seed Montana State by 41 in the first round. They would then go on to beat 8 seed Kansas by 26. Their next two games were in Spokane, Washington. They would beat the 4 seed Maryland Terrapins by 6 in the Elite Eight before beating 2 seed Texas by 9 in the they beat Maryland by 6 in the Sweet 16 before beating Texas by 9 in the Elite Eight. So that's how Stanford would make it here as the third 1 seed in the Final Four. And then UConn would be the only non-1 seed to make it into this tournament, coming in as the 2 seed. They would play their first 2 games on their home court in Storrs, Connecticut. They would beat 15 seed Mercer by 45 in the first game before they would beat 7 seed UCF by 5 in the second round. They would play their Sweet 16 and Elite 8 matchups in Bridgeport, Connecticut. They beat 3 seed Indiana by 17 in the Sweet 16 before they beat 1 seed North Carolina State by 4. After beating the one state in their region, they would go on to face off against another 1 seed, their second 1 seed in a row, and they would go on to beat 1 seed Stanford 63-58 to advance to the national championship game. They would win this game by 5 after they outscored Stanford by 4 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the top seed Stanford Cardinal out of the Spokane region were led in scoring by their starting guard, Haley Jones. Their junior out of Santa Cruz, California, would go on to finish with 20 points and 11 rebounds in her final game of the season. She did all this while playing all 40 minutes of the game. She shot 8 for 21 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 2 seed UConn Huskies out of the Bridgeport region were led in scoring by their starting guard, Paige Beckers. Their sophomore from Hopkins, Minnesota, because they're playing in Minneapolis, of all places. She would go on to finish with 14 points, 5 assists, a couple of steals, and 5 turnovers in 34 minutes. She shot 7 for 13 from the field. With this win, the 2 seed UConn Huskies will advance to the national championship, where they will face off against their third straight number 1 seed after beating North Carolina State in the Elite Eight and beating Stanford in the Final Four. They will face off against the 1 seed South Carolina Gamecocks as UConn enters this matchup with a 30-5 record. And with this loss, the 1 seed Stanford Cardinal from the Pac-12 will finish their 2021-22 seasons with a 32-4 record as they won the Spokane region of the NCAA tournament, but they will not advance to the Final Four. Taking a look at what's going on next, the Women's National Championship is actually slated for tomorrow, Sunday, April 3rd. It's going to be at Target Center in Minneapolis and on ESPN at 8 o'clock. And, of course, I'll get into that once we get into tomorrow. But, of course, congrats to both teams. Taking a look now at what's going on the men's side of the bracket as the Final Four, both matchups are going to be slated today in Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. The first matchup will be between the number 1 seed from the Midwest bracket, the only number 1 seed in this tournament, Kansas, and 2 seed Villanova out of the South. After both teams after Villanova won their specific tournament, and Kansas was able to pull off a very great season from themselves as well. But starting off with 2 seed Villanova would make it into this Final Four after they won their first 2 matchups in Pittsburgh. They won their first round matchup against 15 seed Delaware by about 20 points. They beat 7 seed Ohio State by 10 points in the second round to make it to the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16, they beat 11 seed Michigan by 8 before beating 5 seed Houston by 6 in the Elite Eight game to be the only team out of the South region as they won those Sweet 16 Elite Eight games in San Antonio, Texas. Looking at how Kansas got here as the only number 1 seed, they would go on to win their first 2 matchups in Fort Worth, beating 16 seed Texas Southern by 27 after Texas Southern had to play in for that spot. Kansas would go on to the second round to beat Creighton by 7. They would go on to play their next 2 matchups, their second weekend in Chicago. In the Sweet 16, 16, Kansas beat 4 seed Providence by 5 before beating 10 seed Miami by 26 in the Elite Eight round. This matchup between 1 seed Kansas and 2 seed Villanova will be on at 6:09, and the winner of that will be, of course, the first team to advance to the championship round. The second matchup will be one of the most anticipated college basketball matchups of all time, as the 2 seed Duke Blue Devils out of the West region, of course representing my alma mater, Duke University, are going to face off against the 8 seed North Carolina Tar Heels out of the East region, as they were the 8 seed coming out of that bracket. This is the first time that Duke and UNC, as longtime rivals, have ever faced off in the tournament, and the fact that it's a Final Four game, and the fact that it is the new UNC's coach's first Final Four and Coach K's last Final Four, it is, I think, it's really all one big moment, one big basketball game that a lot of people are looking forward to. Looking first at how 2 seed Duke made it to this round, they would go on to beat 15 seed Cal State Fullerton by 17 in the first round in Greenville. They stayed in Greenville for their second round matchup against 7 seed Michigan State. They would beat the Spartans by 9 to make it through their first weekend. Their second weekend would be in San Francisco. They would beat 3 seed Texas Tech by 5 before beating 4 seed Arkansas by 9 in the Elite Eight in order to make it to this Final Four. Looking at how 8 seed North Carolina made it here, they won their first 2 games in Fort Worth. They beat 9 seed Marquette by 32 to make it to the second round. And the defining win of this bracket would be where they beat 1 seed Baylor by 7 in overtime to make it through their first weekend. Their second weekend would be in Philadelphia. They would win their Sweet 16 matchup against 4 seed UCLA. They won it by 7 before beating 15 seed St. Peter's by 20 in the Elite Eight to make it here. So, of course, after these 2 games are done, we will have the matchups, of course, finalized for the national championship, as, of course, 2 teams will be eliminated tonight. And there are 3 games that are left specifically in this tournament. After today, there will be 1. So that's what college basketball is looking like as we are entering April, as March is officially done. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA now, starting off in Orlando, the Orlando Magic hosted the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors would end up beating the Magic 102-89. The Raptors would win this game by 13 after they outscored Orlando by 11, or they outscored them by 13 in the first half of this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their starting center out of Texas, Mo Bamba. He finished with 15 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks in 33 minutes. He went on to shoot 6 for 11 from the field as he made both of his free throws on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the Toronto Raptors were led in scoring by their starting small forward, their rookie Scotty Barnes, and their all-star starting shooting guard Fred VanVleet. Barnes finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field, and he would make all 6 of his free throws. Fred VanVleet finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals, and 2 blocks in 39 minutes. He shot 7 for 19 from the field as he made 5 of his 16 three-pointers on the night. The Raptors starting power forward, Pascal Siakam, finished with 16 points and 11 rebounds in 43 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, and he would make 2 of his 3 free throws on the night. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are 45-32. That is currently the 6th best record in the East, as they are tied with the Bulls actually for the 5th best record, but the Bulls have the tiebreaker. The Raptors have actually won their last 5 games. Their 5-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the Eastern Conference, as in the NBA, only the Memphis Grizzlies have a longer winning streak. They've won 8 of their last 10 games, sitting alongside the Bulls with the 5th best record in the East. They sit a game and a half behind the 4th place Philadelphia 76ers. They also sit 3 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. With 5 games left in their schedule, they sit 4 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat, as they are mathematically still able to take over the 1 seed. With this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 20-58. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They are tied with the Houston Rockets for the worst record in the NBA. The Magic have now lost their last 5 games. That is the second longest active losing streak in the East. The Indiana Pacers have a longer losing streak. The Magic have lost 8 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 19 and a half games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, as well as the Nets and the Hornets, because they're all tied for that spot. And because the Magic have 4 games left in their schedule, they are one of the 5 teams in the East that have been eliminated from playoff competition. They have sit alongside the Detroit Pistons, the Indiana Pacers, the New York Knicks, and the Washington Wizards for right now. Jumping out to our nation's capital, the Washington Wizards, one of the teams that is ineligible for playoffs this year, hosted the Dallas Mavericks, and the Wizards would beat the Mavericks 135-103 to spoil the Mavericks season a little bit. The Wizards would win this game by 32 after they outscored the Mavericks by 11 in the first quarter and then by 16 in the fourth. On the losing end of this matchup, the Mavericks would be led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. Doncic finished with 36 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 11 for 22 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, as he made all 10 of his free throws. The Mavericks starting point guard Jalen Brunson out of Villanova finished with 21 points and 5 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 13 from the field, as he made both of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Washington Wizards were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard and former NBA champion, Kentavious Caldwell Pope. He finished with 35 points and 4 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 13 for 19 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, as he made all 3 of his free throws. Their starting center, Kristaps Porzingis, finished with 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He shot 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. Their starting power forward out of Gonzaga, Rui Hachimora, finished with 21 points and 5 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and he shot 2 for 3 from the free throw line. With this win, the hometown Washington Wizards are now 34-43. That is now they're tied with the Wizards for the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. The Wizards have now won 5 of their last 10 games. They've won their last 2, actually. And they are currently sitting 6 games behind the 3-way tie of the Brooklyn Nets, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Atlanta Hawks at the bottom of the play-in picture. And because the Wizards now have 5 games left in their schedule, they are one of 5 teams in the East that have been eliminated from playoff contention. With this loss, the Dallas Mavericks are now 48-30. That is the 4th best record in the Western Conference. They've now lost 4 of their last 10 games in the Western Conference playoff picture. With 4 games left in their schedule, they are sitting half a game behind the 3rd place Golden State Warriors. They sit a game and a half ahead of the 5th place Utah Jazz. They are trailing the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 14 and a half games. And as of right now, they have officially secured a playoff spot for themselves, not a play-in, but a playoff spot, as the highest seed that they can get at the moment is the 3rd seed. Taking a look at what happened in Boston, the Celtics hosted the Indiana Pacers. The Celtics would beat the Pacers 128-123. They won this game by 5 after they outscored the Pacers by 9 in the first quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Pacers were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Iowa State, Tyrese Halliburton. He finished with 30 points, 2 assists, and 3 steals as he fouled out in 26 minutes. Halliburton shot 10 for 11 from the field. He shot a perfect 6 for 6 from 3, and he shot a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Pacers guard, Lance Stevenson, out of the state of New York, would finish with 11 points and 11 assists in 22 minutes. He shot 4 for 7 from the field. He made his only 3-pointer, and he shot a perfect 2 for 2 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Jalen Brown. Brown finished with 32 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 35 minutes. He shot 12 for 18 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 as he made all 6 of his free throws. The Celtics' elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum, finished with 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 24 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3 as he made 8 of his 10 free throws on the night. The Celtics starting center and former college basketball national back-to-back champ Al Horford finished with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 8 from the field. He shot a perfect 2 for 2 from 3 as he made his only free throw from the night as well. With this win, the Boston Celtics are 48-30. That is the third best record in the Eastern Conference as they've won 7 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit half a game behind the second place defending champs Milwaukee Bucks as they sit a full game ahead of the fourth place Philadelphia 76ers. With 4 games left in their schedule, they are only sitting a game and a half behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They are the third team in the Eastern Conference to clinch a playoff spot as they are officially sitting 5.5 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. So they have officially clinched a spot at least better than the play-in for right now. And with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 25-53. That is the third worst record in the Eastern Conference as they've now lost their last 6 games. Their 6-game losing streak is tied with the Portland Trailblazers for the longest active losing streak in the NBA. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games, and at the moment they are sitting 15.5 games behind the Nets, Hornets, and Hawks at the bottom of the play-in picture. And because they have 4 games left in their schedule, the Pacers are one of 5 teams in the Eastern Conference that they're one of the 5 teams that have not qualified for playoff contention as the 10 play-in teams have already been set. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the Rockets hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Kings would beat the Rockets by 5. They won this game 122-117. They had to outscore the Rockets by 10 points in the second quarter and fourth quarters each. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Rockets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, last year's number 2 overall pick, Jalen Green. He finished with 33 points and 8 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 9 for 24 from the field, 6 for 14 from 3, and he made all 9 of his free throws. Their starting shooting guard, Kevin Porter Jr., finished with 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 24 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3, and he made 1 of his 2 free throws. The Rockets starting shooting guard, Garrison Matthews, finished with 22 points and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 6 for 10 from 3 as he made both of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Harrison Barnes out of North Carolina. He finished with 25 points in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he made 1 of his 2 free throws on the night. Their power forward off the bench, Chimezie Metu, finished with 18 points and 13 rebounds in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. Their starting center, Damian Jones, finished with 17 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 9 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the free throw line. And the Kings' rookie starting point guard, Davion Mitchell from the defending champs Baylor Bears, finished with 11 points and 10 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 3 for 13 from the field, and he would make 4 of his 6 free throws on the night. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are 29-49. It is the 4th worst record in the Western Conference as they've now won their last 2 games. They now won 5 of their last 10. They now sit 3.5 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs in the bottom of the Western Conference play-in picture. Overall, that is where they sit as they have 4 games left in their schedule as this next game could see them getting eliminated. But they are still eligible for playoff contention. They are sitting at the bottom of playoff contention in the West. Or of eligible teams in the West right now. And with this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 20-58. That is the worst record in the West. They are tied with the Magic for the worst record in the NBA. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 12.5 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs in the West. And because they have 4 games left in their schedule, they are one of 3 teams in the Western Conference that have failed to qualify for the playoffs, as they sit alongside the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Portland Trail Blazers. Taking a look at what happened in Memphis now between the NBA's top 2 teams, the Grizzlies would host the Suns, and they would beat the Suns 122 to 144. They won this game by 8 after they outscored the Suns by 11 in the first quarter and then by an additional 7 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard Devin Booker out of Kentucky. He finished with 41 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 17 for 28 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, as he shot 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, finished with 8 points, 11 assists, and 3 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and he shot 3 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Dillon Brooks, out of Oregon. He finished with 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 11 for 28 from the field, and he would go on to shoot a perfect 7 for 7 from the free throw line. And then, of course, with this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 55-23. That is the second best record in the Western Conference, as they've now won their last 7 games. Their 7-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the NBA at this moment. They've won 9 of their last 10. They have 4 games left in their schedule, and they are going into this playoff with the number 2 seed, as they sit 7.5 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns, and they are currently sitting 6.5 games behind the third place Golden State Warriors. With this loss, the Phoenix Suns are now 62-15. That is still the best record in the Western Conference and the NBA, as they've only lost 1 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 7.5 games ahead of the second place Memphis Grizzlies with 5 games left in their schedule. The Suns have officially clinched the best record in the NBA, as they are the only team in the NBA that has won at least 80% of their games this season. Taking a look now at what happened in Milwaukee, the defending champs hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers would beat the Bucks 153-119. They would win this game by 34 after they outscored the Bucks by 11 in the first half. They would outscore the Bucks by 15 in the third and then by an additional 8 in the fourth. They outscored them by 23 in the second half in order to run away with this win that they kind of needed. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown defending champs Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their starting small forward out of Louisville, Jordan Nwora. He finished with 28 points in 40 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and he shot 5 for 6 from the free throw line. The Bucks starting center, Bobby Portis, finished with 25 points and 8 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, as he made his only free throw. And then on the winning end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Robert Covington. He finished with 43 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 46 minutes. He shot 15 for 24 from the field. He shot 11 for 18 from 3, and he made both of his free throws. The Clippers starting shooting guard, Amir Coffey, finished with 32 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals in 43 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, as he shot a perfect 7 for 7 from the free throw line. The Clippers starting shooting guard out of Duke, Luke Kennard, finished with 23 points and 6 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throw attempts. And the Clippers center off the bench, Isaiah Hartenstein, finished with 14 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 6 for 9 from the field, as he made 1 of his 2 free throws. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are 38-40. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 3 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are currently sitting 6 games behind the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves. They sit 3.5 games ahead of the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans, as the Clippers have 4 games left in their schedule. I imagine another win here would clinch their 8th seed, but that's where they sit, as they sit 24.5 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. With this loss, the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks are now 48-29. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've only lost 4 of their last 10 games. Taking a look at where they're sitting in the NBA, they are tied with the Warriors for the 5th best record in the NBA as well. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they are sitting a game behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat, as they sit half a game ahead of the third place Boston Celtics in the playoff picture, as they have 5 games left in their schedule. The Bucks are currently, or they have 3 games left in their schedule. The Bucks are at this moment sitting 1 game behind the Heat, so they can the highest seed they can get is the 1 seed. And because they sit 6 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers, they are one of the 3 teams in the East that have officially clinched a solid, for sure, playoff spot moving forward. And then taking a look at what happened in Oklahoma City, the Thunder hosted the Detroit Pistons in this match between 2 teams that will not qualify for the playoffs this year. The Pistons would beat the Thunder by 9. They won it 110-101. They won it by 9 after outscoring the Thunder by 14, doubling their score in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Oklahoma City Thunder were led in scoring by their starting point guard Theo Maledon. He finished with 28 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 22 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. The Thunder starting forward Jalen Horde finished with 11 points and 20 rebounds alongside 2 blocks in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field. He will go on to shoot 1 for 3 from 3 as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons were led in scoring by their starting point guard Killian Hayes, and then their guard off the bench, Frank Jackson. Hayes finished with 26 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals, and 2 blocks in 40 minutes. He shot 12 for 25 from the field. Frank Jackson finished with 26 points in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, as he made all 8 of his free throws on the night. The Pistons starting power forward Isaiah Livers finished with 17 points and 11 rebounds in 43 minutes. He went on to shoot 6 for 9 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and he made his only free throw on the night. The Pistons point guard off the bench, Saben Lee, finished with 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 12 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 3 for 11 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the Detroit Pistons are 22-56. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they've now won their last 2 games. They've won 4 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 18.5 games behind the Nets, Hornets, and Hawks at the bottom of the Eastern Conference play-in picture. And because they have 4 games left in their schedule, they are one of 5 teams in the East that have failed to qualify for playoff contention. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 22-55. That is the second worst record in the Western Conference, as they've lost their last 2 games and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 10 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs at the bottom of the play-in picture. But because the Thunder have 5 games left in their schedule, they are one of 3 teams in the Western Conference that have failed to qualify for playoff contention thus far. Taking a look at what happened one state south in San Antonio, the Spurs hosted the Trailblazers, as the Spurs are still fighting for a playoff spot. The Spurs would beat the Trailblazers 130-111. The Spurs won this game by 19 after they outscored the Blazers by 23 in the second quarter alone. On the losing end of this matchup, the Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Keon Johnson. Johnson finished with 20 points in 25 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. Their forward off the bench, Reggie Perry, finished with 11 points and 10 rebounds in 19 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field, and he went 1 for 2 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown San Antonio Spurs were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Devin Booker. He finished with 22 points in 27 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. Their starting small forward, Keldon Johnson, finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and he shot a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line. With this win, the San Antonio Spurs are now 32-45. That is currently the 10th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the play-in picture, they are sitting 2 games behind the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans. They are sitting a game ahead of the Lakers, who are the first team on the outside looking in. The San Antonio Spurs at the moment are sitting 30 games behind the Phoenix Suns, as they have 7 games left in their schedule. The highest seed they can hope for at this moment mathematically is possibly the 8th seed, which is currently occupied by the Clippers. With this loss, the Portland Trail Blazers are 27-50. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 6 games. Their 6-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the Western Conference. They are tied with the Indiana Pacers for the longest active losing streak right now. They've lost their last 9 games outside of the playoff picture. They sit 5 games behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, as the Blazers have 5 games left in their schedule. They are the 3rd team that has been eliminated from playoff contention in the West, as they now sit alongside the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. But that's where the Blazers are sitting. Taking a look now at what happened in Denver, the Denver Nuggets hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves would beat the Nuggets 136-130. The Wolves won this game by 6 after they outscored the Nuggets by 5 in the first quarter. It was a pretty close game in the other quarters. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Nikola Jokic. Last year's MVP finished with 38 points, 19 rebounds, and 8 assists in 43 minutes. He shot 14 for 21 from the field and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. The Nuggets starting power forward, Aaron Gordon, out of Arizona, finished with 24 points and 5 rebounds in 38 minutes. He shot 9 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he would go on to shoot a perfect 2 for 2 from the free throw line. The Nuggets starting point guard, Monte Morris, finished with 23 points, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws. On the winning end of this matchup, the Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting center out of Kentucky, Karl Anthony Towns. He finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and he made all 6 of his free throws. The Timberwolves starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell, finished with 24 points in 37 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he shot 10 for 11 from the free throw line. Their elite starting small forward, Anthony Edwards, finished with 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and he shot 3 for 4 from the free throw line. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 44-34. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2 games behind the 6th place Denver Nuggets. They are sitting 6 whole games ahead of the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. In the Western Conference playoff picture, that is where they sit. The highest seed that they can go for is possibly the 4th seed, as they have 4 games left in their schedule. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are now 46-32. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, as they've only lost 4 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting half a game behind the 5th place Utah Jazz. They are now sitting 2 games ahead of the 7th place Minnesota Timberwolves, as they now trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns with 4 games left in their schedule. The highest seed that the Nuggets can hope for at this moment is the 3rd seed, as that's currently being occupied by the Golden State Warriors. And then last but not least, taking a look at what happened in the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Lakers, fighting for a play-in seed, hosted the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Pelicans would beat the Lakers 114-111. The Pelicans won this game by 3 after outscoring the Lakers by 4 in the 4th quarter to overcome their 1-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Los Angeles Lakers were led in scoring by their goated starting small forward out of Akron, Ohio, LeBron James. The NBA's active leader in points scored finished with 38 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, as he also had 6 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 13 for 23 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and he shot 9 for 12 from the free throw line. Their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis, finished with 23 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists in 37 minutes. Anthony Davis would go on to shoot 8 for 17 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot 6 for 9 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard CJ McCollum. McCollum finished with 32 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 12 for 23 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and he's going to go on to make all 4 of his free throws on the night. Their elite starting small forward, Brandon Ingram, finished with 29 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks, and 5 turnovers in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, and he made all 9 of his free throws. The Pelicans starting center Jonas Valanciunas finished with 17 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are 34-43. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 3 games. They've now won 7 of their last 10. In the Western Conference play-in picture, they are sitting 3.5 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. They are sitting 2 games ahead of the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, as the Pelicans have 5 games left in their schedule. They are sitting 28 full games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, as their season is ticking to an end. With this loss, the Los Angeles Lakers are now 31-46. That is currently the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 5 games. That is the 2nd longest active losing streak in the Western Conference. Only the Blazers have a longer losing streak. The Lakers have lost 8 of their last 10 games. Sitting outside of the play-in picture, they sit 1 game behind the 10th place San Antonio Spurs, as the Lakers have 5 games left in their schedule. And that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's games. Taking a look as we are inching day by day, the playoffs do actually start this month. But taking a quick look into what's going on today, because today is Saturday, and because there is March Madness, there is still going to be primetime basketball to look forward to, specifically as the games on primetime, or the only primetime game itself is going to be on NBA TV. At 7:30, the Atlanta Hawks are going to host the Brooklyn Nets. They're both tied for the 8th best record in the East, as the winning team could possibly see themselves overtake that 8th spot, as the Hornets play the 76ers as well. The Hawks enter this matchup having won their last 4 games and 7 of their last 10. The Nets enter this having won 6 of their last 10. Both of these teams sit 2 games behind the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers with 5 games left in their schedule. And then taking a look outside of that, the games that aren't on prime time, at 12:30, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Charlotte Hornets, who are in that 3-way tie at the bottom of the Eastern Conference play-in picture. At 1 o'clock, the New York Knicks are going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks have already been eliminated from playoff contention. At 8 o'clock, the Chicago Bulls are going to host the Miami Heat in the United Center, as this could possibly be a playoff matchup. And then at 8:30, in the Chase Center, the Golden State Warriors are going to host the Utah Jazz, as this could very possibly be a playoff matchup as well. That is what the NBA is looking like as we navigate really quickly to see what's going on with soccer. In terms of soccer, not much happened yesterday, but because today is Saturday, we are about to ease our way into another great weekend of soccer. Starting off with what's going on in the Premier League in England, the very top team in the league, Manchester City, is going to face off against Burnley at 10 a.m. Man City enters this matchup sitting only 1 point ahead of second place Liverpool, as their opponent Burnley enters this matchup with the 2nd worst record in the Prem. Liverpool, the 2nd best team in the Premier League record-wise, is going to host Watford at 7:30. Watford is the 3rd worst team in the Prem. Liverpool only sits 1 game behind Manchester City at the moment, so the top of this race is actually getting very heated. The 3rd best team in the Premier League, Chelsea, is going to host Brentford at 10 a.m. As Chelsea enters this matchup 10 points behind second place Liverpool, with 1 less game played than Liverpool. Their opponents, Brentford, are entering this matchup with the 15th best record in the Prem. So, of course, this is Chelsea's opportunity to move up. And then Manchester United, who is currently sitting in at the 6th best record in the Prem, they are going to host Leicester City, who come into this matchup with the 10th best record in England. So, of course, that's going to be big. Man United only sits 1 point behind 5th place Tottenham, so a win here could temporarily move them into 5th place. Taking a look at what is happening on the Spanish subcontinent now as we move west to east. In Spain, the La Liga leaders for the time being, Real Madrid, are going to face off against Celta Vigo at 12:30. Real Madrid sit 9 points clear of second place Sevilla as their opponent. Celta Vigo enter this matchup with the 11th best record in Spain. And then Atletico Madrid, the other team in Madrid, the team that's actually going to play in Madrid, is going to host Alaves. Atletico Madrid enters this matchup tied with Barcelona for the 3rd best record in Spain, even though they have one more game played. With a win here, they could temporarily jump right into 3rd place or 2nd place if they win by enough. And they're going to face off against Alaves. Their opponent is the 2nd worst team in Spain record-wise. So that is what that matchup is officially looking like. Taking a quick look at what is going on with France. Los Lila, the reigning Ligue 1 champs, are going to face off against Bordeaux. They've come into this matchup with the 6th best record in France. They sit 2 points behind 5th place Strasbourg. And then their opponents, Bordeaux, enter this matchup with the worst record in France. This is a good chance for Los Lille to move themselves up in the table. Moving up the continent some more into Italy in Serie A, the only big Italian club that's going to be playing today will be Lazio, as they will host Sassuolo at home. Lazio enters this matchup with the 7th best record in Italy, as they sit 2 points behind Atalanta and Roma, who are sitting in 5 and 6 in Italy right now. And then in Germany, at 9:30, Bayern Munich is going to face off against FC Freiburg. Bayern Munich enters this matchup with the best record in the Bundesliga. They are currently sitting 6 points ahead of 2nd place Borussia Dortmund. And taking a look at 2nd place Borussia Dortmund, they're going to host RB Leipzig at 12:30. Leipzig has the 4th best record in Germany, but Dortmund sits 6 points behind Bayern, so both teams need this win, as Leipzig sits even with 5th place Freiburg. A win could see them fall out of Champions League contention. And then the 3rd best team in Germany, Bayer Leverkusen, is going to host Hertha Berlin at 9:30. So that's going to be a very big matchup, as Leverkusen sits 9 points below 2nd place Dortmund. But that is what German soccer is looking like. But that is what soccer is looking like. That's what sports are looking like as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Not to mention that the MLB opening day is actually coming up. I believe it's on the 7th, but don't take my word for that. But with that said, I want to thank everyone once again for listening to this piece. I do hope all as well. Listening to all 46 minutes. I would like to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and the FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures I needed, because without them, I clearly would not be able to do this. Once everything is done today, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Sunday, April 3rd, for another episode. And once again, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well. I want to thank my sources. And once again, once everything's done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Sunday. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well. And I'll catch you up with more tomorrow. Thanks for staying caught up with me step by step on this journey. Peace out.